Machado. Mr. Michael, come on up here. So, Mr. Ray, maybe you'd kind of just give us an overview of how this is going to go, and this is the remainder of our business, members, and I know you will be disappointed, but it is my hope that we can conclude this by something like 5, or if our staff gets us an extension from the City of West Sacramento, 5:30, to try to wrap this up. Otherwise, we'll continue it tomorrow morning.
As you know, the Delta Reform Act requires the Delta Protection Commission to submit to the Delta Stewardship Council for its consideration and potential incorporation of the Delta Plan a proposal to enhance, sustain the unique cultural, historical, recreational, agricultural values of the Delta as an evolving place in a manner that would be consistent with the co-equal goals. And then our responsibility at the Council, your responsibility is to consider that, and you may at your own discretion choose to incorporate portions of that in the Delta Plan if you find that they're feasible and that they're consistent with the goals of the Act and the objectives of the plan. The Delta Protection Commission has been developing elements of this proposal over the last several years. The proposal is required by law to have 2 components. The first is a plan to designate the Delta as a place of special significance, and the law suggests they consider a designation as a national heritage area, which I think Michael explained what the significance of that would be. And then also a regional economic sustainability plan that's to include recommendations for administration of the Delta Investment Fund, which is established in the Delta Reform Act. And the law lays out what the components of the plan ought to be. To help inform the Delta Protection Commission, 2 state agencies, State Parks, my old employers, submitted a proposal for recreation in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. And then the University of California Ag Issues Center developed an evaluation of policy alternatives to benefit ag in the Delta, and that was submitted to DPC by the Department of Food and Agriculture. Now, the proposal that the Protection Commission has submitted is the proposal itself is attachment 1 to your staff report. And it's a relatively brief piece of text that has an associated spreadsheet that identifies a series of strategies, the recommendations and policies that are derived from their economic sustainability plan. The second piece of it, which is attachment 2, is their draft proposal to designate the Delta as a place of national significance, a national heritage area, which my understanding is that it's being reviewed by the National Park Service now for completeness and will be presented to the Commission for adoption once that review is completed. And then the third is the Economic Sustainability Plan. Attachment 3 to your staff report is the executive summary for the sustainability plan. And then attachment 4 is the entire sustainability plan. And what we thought we would do is ask Mr. Machado and Dr. Michael, their consultant on the ESP, to review all the components of it, the heritage area nomination, the proposal for how they would administer the Delta Investment Fund, and then the ESP and the strategies that are derived from it. We've done an initial review. We've already had the final plan briefly before we had to have a staff report in the mail to you. So we did an initial review of the 38 strategies that are recommended in that, and our first cut is about 24 of those we would encourage you to consider as being feasible and consistent with the Delta Reform Act. 3, we need further discussions with DPC to understand some of the details that might be involved in those strategies and consider better their consistency with the Act and their feasibility. 3 of them seem to us to be premature because they're primarily about items that will be determined in the BDCP, and so we need to wait and see how that process turns out before we would think they could be incorporated in the Delta Plan. And then we are suggesting that 8 of them appear to be either inconsistent with Reform Act's goals and the draft plan's objectives, or we can't see that they're clearly feasible at this time. So with that, I think I'd like to just turn the microphone over to Mr. Machado and let the senator take it.